If you had asked me years ago what I saw myself doing for the rest of my life, I was going to tell you I was always going to be a doctor. I was going to be the best ER physician that there was, and that was going to be the end of my story. It just all started with, how can I protect myself? How can I build wealth outside of my 9 to 5? Because I really felt like everything I was doing was poured into my daily job. I realized that I needed to at some point try to also buy back my time. I always just felt like I needed to diversify. The wealthiest of the wealthiest in America and the United States, they built that through real estate. And that's how Phoenix was born. It was born from a place of, what are we doing? How are we showing up? They didn't teach this to us, but we're going to learn and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to have a seat at the table. Medicine opened doors for me that I would never have even had the opportunity. It opened rooms for me to be in. It cleared space at the table, and it built such a level of trust among my peers. And so I would do it all over again. Like, I love being in the ER. And you know what? When I built Phoenix, I realized that I can be the woman, the doctor who can do hard things. And I can be someone who can dream and then who can actualize that and bring that to life. And to me, I think that is probably my biggest achievement.
Welcome to the Nurse on Purpose podcast, where we challenge media stereotypes about nursing and spotlight the incredible and diverse roles nurses play in healthcare. I'm your host, Nello. Every week, I'll be joined by a nurse who is reshaping the narrative. From frontline care to leadership, education, innovation, and beyond. Our aim is to show the world that nursing is so much more than what we see on TV. Together, we'll explore how we can collaborate with media and other stakeholders to create authentic and inspiring portrayals of nurses. Let's begin the conversation and ignite change, one episode at a time. Welcome to a special episode of the Nurse on Purpose podcast. Today, we're celebrating National Doctors Day, a time to honor the dedication, expertise, and impact of physicians across the country. In recognition of this day, I am so thrilled to welcome Dr. Nkem Ezeamama to the podcast. Dr. Nkem is an ER physician, multifamily real estate investor, and the founder and CEO of Phoenix Capital Investments, where she helps high-achieving professionals build wealth through passive real estate investing. And we're going to talk about what passive real estate investing entails. We talk about her journey from the front lines of emergency medicine to real estate entrepreneurship. And her journey is a powerful example of taking control of one's time, designing a life of purpose, and unlocking true freedom. Now, beyond her work in medicine and investing, Dr. Nkem is the creator of My Expansive Life, a movement dedicated to helping individuals break free from limiting beliefs and embrace abundance in all areas of life. Through mentorship, speaking engagements, and transformational programs, she inspires others to pursue both financial independence and personal fulfillment. What a wonderful profile. You are so welcome to the podcast, Nkem.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. Oh, I can't wait to get in. I'm really excited.
Awesome. So on this, our special National Doctors Day episode, we're going to dive into your journey into medicine. Then we're going to talk about your transition from healthcare to real estate, some of the lessons you've learned and challenges that you've encountered, as well as your advice to healthcare or any other professionals that are seeking to dip their toes into real estate and investing. So let's just start talking about your journey. Take us back to your formative years in Nigeria. Did you know that you always wanted to pursue medicine as a career?
From a young age, and I'll say this, right? As Nigerians, and I think you know this and you understand this, right? Our parents teach us to either be doctors, lawyers, engineers, and like that is the pinnacle. But for me, right, from a young age, I always knew that I wanted to make impact. And I always felt like it came through touching lives, right? And so that was always something that stuck with me. I don't have that perfect story of having like a sick relative that I saw kind of go through the hospital. It was just that I fell in love with science. So as much as people will maybe judge me or make fun of me, but like I love the chemistries and the organic chemistries and the physics. It made sense to me. And so it was a natural progression for me to go through microbiology and then from there go to medical school. But I probably was harder on myself than my parents were on me because I just knew for such a long time it was something that I wanted to do. And I was really excited that I got the opportunity to do it because I know that there are a lot of people who this is part of their dream and they don't get to realize it or, to see it come to life. And so I never took it for granted. It was very hard. There were a lot of sleepless nights, but to be able to really impact lives, to be able to really help make a difference and to see someone go from sick to well and to play a role in that, it's very humbling. And at the same time, very exciting.
That's wonderful. You went to medical school in the United States, correct?
Yes. Yes, that is correct.
That's wonderful. Okay, and so at what point did you decide that you were going to transition from being an ER physician into real estate investing?
Okay. So I I didn't even know that I was going to do emergency medicine. I
Mm,
had other plans, or at least when I got to, third year of medical school where it was time for us to make the decision, I initially thought I wanted to do general surgery. And then I thought I wanted to do OBGYN. But when I got to the ER, I just felt like I still could use my hands, but then you get excited every time because you don't know what's going to come in. You don't know if you're going to deliver a baby today. You don't know if, someone's going to die. You don't know if you're going to save a life, or you don't know if you're just going to hug an old woman or play with a little kid. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to figure that out. It just happens. And so when I was there, I felt like every time and it's only a certain type of person that can do this, but it was a controlled chaos that I just felt like it just meshed together. And so
adrenaline junkie?
like
Okay.
kinda. And so I was doing it and I was happy. And if you had asked me years ago what I saw myself doing for the rest of my life, I was going to tell you I was always going to be a doctor. I was going to be the best ER physician that there was. And that was going to be the end of my story. But at some point, things started to change. And I recall it very well, right? We got bought over by another private equity firm and just things started changing. There was a ton of bureaucracy. What we did, the practice of medicine, it started to change. There was a ton of administrative oversight. And I just started feeling like I was losing touch with the thing that I love to do the most. And I remember the day that it hit me, right? A close friend of mine who was another physician got fired. And it was at that moment that I realized that this trust and this stability that I put in medicine, or I put in, my job, my company, that I needed to stop doing that. And I needed to like rethink that and figure out really how I could protect myself, protect the people that I love, my colleagues, the people that I interact with, and then the larger population at large. And so for me, it was that day that was a really eye-opening moment. And I decided it just all started with, how can I protect myself, right? How can I build wealth outside of my 9 to 5? Because I really felt like everything I was doing was poured into my daily job. And I realized that I needed to at some point try to also buy back my time because all my time was spent in the hospital, especially when it wasn't guaranteed. And so that's it. That's how the story started. And I really just started investing. So from a young age, and I don't know why, maybe it's my dad is a serial entrepreneur, but I always just felt like I needed to diversify. So I needed to not rely only on one thing. So I was, I'm into stocks. And if you talk about me, all things financial, I'll talk to you about all things finances, financial literacy. Those things excite me. But I was diversified across multiple platforms. And when all of this started happening at work, I started thinking to myself, I probably need to get into real estate. And at that point, I had a mentor. And one of the things he told me was that the wealthiest of the wealthiest in America, in the United States, they built that through real estate. And they built that through ownership. And so I thought, well, I want to be a part of that, right? But I knew that I didn't want to, I didn't want to fix toilets, and I didn't want to, deal with tenants on a large, on that scale. And
Yeah.
so I just started investing passively, because in the beginning I wanted to learn about exactly what this meant, what that looked like. And so I just started investing passively. But what I noticed was that there were not a lot of us at the table. Nobody taught us that this was even an asset that we could
Yeah.
go into, this alternative investment, not only in stocks, not only in 401k, but there are also alternative ways to make money. And nobody taught us about that. Nobody told us about that. And so as I started investing, and then I started seeing the gain, what I was investing was making more money than the money that was sitting in my bank account and my savings account. I knew I had to do something. But more than that, I knew I had to share the message, and so that's when I took on social media. And I started just teaching. I started sharing, almost like the good news. I'm
Yeah.
telling people, hey, you need to be investing. We need to buy property together. We need passive income, so that when you're working in the hospital, so that when you're asleep, when you're
Mhm.
traveling, you can still be making money,
Mhm.
because we're collecting rent. And that's what that looks like, but on a larger
Mhm.
scale, where you don't have to do the work. And I got, so to my surprise, right? I got people saying, find me the deal and I'm in. And it was that simple. And,
Yeah.
or maybe not that simple, because I put in a ton of work, but
Yeah. Of
I
course.
told myself that, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work hard. And I'm going to make something of this. And so I will never forget, I spent almost a year learning how to underwrite deals. And so, like, if you think on my screen, some days you would see like multiple Excel sheets. And I told myself, if I can go to med school and if I can crush it, then I can learn how to underwrite these large deals, these 200 unit apartments, and figure out how I can bring it to my investors. And that's how Phoenix was born. It was born from a place of, what are we doing? How are we showing up? They didn't teach this to us, but we're going to learn, and we're going to figure it
Mm.
out, and we're going to have a seat at the table. And that's
Mm.
where that was born. It was, I wanted other healthcare professionals to know that, like, we have a stake in this. It's not just for the Black Rocks and the big institutions,
Mhm.
and the financial, it's not just for them. It's for us too. And we can do it. And that's how this was born. So it came from a place of need. It came from a deep pain point. And then I realized that we needed to educate each other on just this beautiful asset that is there for us, which is real estate and all the other layers in real estate, and
Yeah.
then take it from there and start sharing it and start teaching it. And so I enjoy, putting on webinars of all sorts of, financial topics, of how to grow wealth, of how to multiple streams of passive income, what that looks like. And so it stemmed from teaching, and then it grew from there.
Wow. First, you talked about how you started to get your own toes in the water of investing little by little, and then all of a sudden you started to build a community of people who were interested
Yes.
just like you, and we're like, well, you go do the work and I will passively invest. Right? And then just from that, you're learning, you're growing, you're expanding your knowledge, and you're seeing,
Yes.
the more I learn, the more I'm discovering that there's so much more,
Yes.
beyond this one stream of income.
Yes.
And I can make a lot more money doing perhaps less work over time, because
Yes.
medicine, I feel like your work and your burden never stops, it never ends. Whereas with investing, you can put in like your sowing season of like 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, and then kind of chill the rest of the time. With medicine, there's no, because people are always going to come in, they're always
Yep.
going to be sick, you're always going to have these 25 patients a day. That's just the life that you live. And then one
Yeah.
day you're 65, you're tired, your body's worn out, and that's the life that you've lived. I really admire that you took this route, and more so, not just that you took the route, but that you're interested in showing other people the way. All right, so we've talked about how Phoenix was born. Can you tell us specifically what it is that you do, and how people, like if people were to say, okay, I want to invest in real estate, how will Phoenix Capital help me get started?
That's a great question. And so what I do really is I help busy professionals in and out of the healthcare space really build wealth through real estate investing. And that is passive income. So let's think about it. You're driving down, right? And you see this apartment, this big apartment complex. And you're probably thinking, man, I will never be able to own that. Like, you're thinking it's the
Mhm.
giants that own it. But the truth
Mhm.
is, you and I can own it. And it's through a process called syndication. So we all pull funds together. So you bring yours, I bring mine, and we all, a bunch of us all bring funds together and we buy the property. Now, as soon as we buy the property, because you as an investor or the investors together pulled more money into it, you own more of the deal. And then you have me as Phoenix, who is helping to manage that property for you. And so we will manage the manager. So we will bring an external team of property manager, asset managers. We will bring accountants. We'll bring lawyers. Everyone will bring insurance people, all the things that we need to do, and taxes as well. All the things that we need to do to make sure that this runs smoothly. And so then when we pull all the money together, then we'll go to the bank and we'll say, or we'll go to a big lender and we'll say, we have all of this. We want to buy this property. And then the bank or the big mortgage lender will give us the rest, right? And so we will buy it and we will own it together. Now you have to think so we're buying a business, right? Which is the apartment complex. And then at that point, it's already fully functioning. There are already tenants in there. And so the tenants are paying rent, right? So as soon as they pay rent, then we will pay all our expenses. So, think like landscaping, property management, advertising, admin, all that stuff gets paid out, right? And then what's left is something called your net operating income, just like in any business. After that, we will pay debt. So we'll pay, remember those large mortgage lenders that gave us some money, we'll pay them. And then what's left in the pool is ours to split. And so we're getting distributions from that money that's left in the pot. And so so you're getting, monthly distributions or quarterly distributions. So you're getting money back. And that's how you're continuing to make passive income. But then we, as the operators, right, we have a plan, a business plan. We're going to go in and we're going to renovate certain properties. We're going to renovate certain units, right, to increase the value of the property. So we are force appreciating it. So we're going in and we're making these, let's say we bought a 200 unit apartment, right? And we are going to maybe renovate about 100 of them. So think about it, right? We bought them in like classic units and then we're going to add value to them. So our strategy is called value add. So we'll go in and then we'll upgrade all these units. And we'll also, by the way, we'll upgrade, let's say the pool and the clubhouse. And so we will bring the property up to standard. And what that's doing is force appreciating the value of the property. So let's say we bought it for 10 million, right? We turn around in about 3 to 5 years and sell that for about 15 million. And that difference is the value that we have made. And that is coming back to all of us, like the owners, the investors, everyone gets money and you get money first because you brought in a large portion. So that's how it works. And so at the end of the day, you're not doing anything. You're doing what you love, which is still you're in the hospital, you're doing what you love, but then you're also allowing your money to work for you. Your money is growing in this asset. So that's what that looks like. And again, nobody taught this to me, right?
Yeah.
I went looking and I found this and I was like, why aren't we all doing this? Why isn't everyone in this? And that's really how it works. And so think about that, right? Maybe this is part of your plan. This is not your only plan, right? You're going to still, like I said, you're going to put some money into stocks. You're going to put some money, but then you're also putting money into real estate. And you might now have a plan to say, I might want to do 1 or 2 of these a year, right? So then, and that way you're getting cash flow. And then when we sell, you're going to get a large portion. And then the beauty of this also is that you get tax benefits from investing in real estate. So as a high income earner, you are figuring out different ways for tax, different ways to help your taxes, right? And so you get depreciation from this property because it's real estate and, the roof and the building, everything depreciates and all of that comes back to you as an investor. So that's a way that you can think, another way that you can leverage real estate.
Awesome. And I think that when we had a conversation prior to this recording, one thing I love is that you get your money back. Like whatever you invested, you will always get back and then some on top. So it's not like stocks where you may lose it or you may make it. This is guaranteed. You get everything that you've invested back and then you will get some on top of that.
Yes. So I want to say this. Let me say 2 things because I want to be very transparent, very honest, right? Nothing is guaranteed. And so, but And that's, I just want to make sure that everyone's listening. This is a risk, right? This is an investment opportunity. And with all of that
Mhm.
comes some risk. So just be aware of
Bring
that.
that up.
But
Yeah.
we mitigate some of those risks in how we manage the property. We mitigate those risks in the type of loans that we take. So we take
Mhm.
fixed debt. So if you notice what has been happening in the market for the last few years, you notice that interest rates have been slowly climbing, or not
Yeah.
slowly, but rapidly
Mhm.
climbing.
Mhm.
But that didn't affect us, right? Because we bought fixed debt. So whatever our interest rate was at day one, that is what we continue to pay. And another thing that like new investors ask is that the difference between this and, let's say, something like stocks is this is more of a long-term play. As much as it is, it's less risky as opposed to stocks. You know, today you can say, hey, I'm going to sell off all my, let's say, Tesla stocks, and you're going to get all your money back. This, you are in it for the life of the deal. So if you think about it, we hold for about 3 to 5 years in order to achieve our business plan. And so you are in this for the life of the deal until we sell. So this is more of a mid to long term play because your money is invested into that
Mhm.
property, into that deal for 3 to 5 years.
Thank you for clearing that up. That there is risk involved
Yes.
with any investment, but
Yes.
much lower risk
Yes.
than stock investing.
Yes.
Awesome. Do you still walk as an ER physician?
Good question. And I get that a lot. So I have decreased my workload. So what that looks like is a few years ago, I was full time and I was working almost 17, 18 shifts in the ER. And now I'm at around 9, and with the goal to continue to decrease because truly, and that's what I said in the beginning, right? I'm buying back my time. And this is
Mhm.
the avenue that is happening. So
Mhm.
eventually my goal is, I love medicine, and I will eventually evolve into teaching, and I will do medicine because I love it, not because I have to.
Mhm.
That is like, I think that's when you start thinking about like achieving financial freedom, is that you get to do what you want, not because you have to, but because you want to.
Do you ever feel like, or do people have expectations of you and feel like you sold out or you're disappointing the profession because you're slowly transitioning into a different career or way of making money? And how do you feel about that yourself?
So, I have feelings about this. when I first started this journey and this venture, I had a lot of opinions from other people. You know, I got stay in your lane, which is medicine. Yeah, I
Oh,
got. Why would you ever think of leaving something that is so stable, that is so
mm,
lucrative? Why would you have spent almost half of like your formative years
mm,
doing this and then thinking about leaving? I got all of that. And I will say this, right? In the beginning, it was hard because when you are on a journey, whatever it is, you have to drown out the noise.
yes.
When you know with every fiber of your being that this is
Mm,
the path you're supposed to be on, and it's
mhm,
different for different people,
mm,
you will have the opinion of other people telling you, whether it's from a place of fear, a place of love, a place of judgment. You will get all of those opinions,
mm,
and you have to work on drowning out the noise. And you have to say that this is the path I'm on. Now, this path will come with challenges. You will be afraid. You will fail. Everything that you can think of might go wrong. But if
yeah.
this is where you're supposed to be, you pick up and you keep going. You know, you realize that the goal is there, but the journey is just as important. And so you
Yeah.
take steps every day to actualize exactly what you want to happen. And
Yeah.
so, yes, I got all sorts of comments, all sorts of questions, but I will say
Mm,
this, right? Medicine opened doors for me that
yeah.
I would never have even had the opportunity. It opened rooms for me to be in. It cleared space at the table, and it built such a level of trust among my peers, among people in the field that I was venturing into. And
Yeah.
so I would do it all over again. Like I,
Yeah.
I, I love being in the ER. And you know what? I'll say this. there is such a newfound joy for being in the ER and a drunk patient yelling at me, or like the smell of urine or something, because now I know that like I'm serving people there, but I'm also teaching people like really how to build wealth, how to show
Yeah,
up at work and be happy and love that, because you're like, okay, I'm working hard, but my money's also working for me elsewhere. Like
absolutely.
I can allow, like I now give them the opportunity to dream, to, think about,
Yeah,
working on their own terms, doing
yeah,
life on their own terms, giving
yeah,
them the opportunity to even think about travel. And there's
yeah,
a lot of things that come when you feel like your finances are not 100% tied to what you do every day. So as much as it's been hard, it's hard that I would do again. And I have truly let the opinion of others drown. And I've just said, I'm going to continue to do this. I'll figure it out. I might fail. I might not get it right. But like, I know the vision on my heart and the vision that I have. And so I'm going to let that come to life
yeah.
by any means necessary.
Wonderful, powerful. The vision. It's not just about making money, because if it
No.
were, you would have probably given up by now, because I know how intense this, and I don't even fully know it, but just how intense you've had to work, and how much hours and how much sleep you've lost, and the investment of time just in learning Excel spreadsheets, reading these books on investments, right? That's no small thing. If it wasn't coming from a place of passion and vision, and a deep desire in your heart to really teach and help people find financial freedom, then it would have fizzled out. So truly applaud you for that vision. What would you say has been one of the biggest career achievements till date?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, maybe you stumped me. Um,
That's
I will
okay.
say this. It's a few things, and I might say one or two or three, but I meant it when I said I always thought that this was the path I was supposed to be on. I worked hard. I spent, I missed out on a lot of life because I was going to be a straight A student, and I went straight to, from undergrad, I did microbiome, and I felt like, I had to have a 3.9 GPA or four. And I went straight to med school, and I remember all-nighters, and I did all of that. And I love that accomplishment. And it was, to be able to see my grandma from Nigeria come to my med school graduation, like it was like the whole family, everyone flew from corners of the world to be there. And so like, I don't take that for granted, right? That was a journey that was not only me, and it was friends, family, loved ones, all supporting me. But when I pivoted, when I built Phoenix, I realized that I can be the woman, the doctor who can do hard things. And
Mm,
I can be someone who can dream, and then who can actualize that and bring that to life. And to me, I think that is probably my biggest achievement, because in that season, I have seen such tremendous growth in my life, in how I think, in how I approach life, in my thoughts, in how I build relationships. I have almost become a different person.
mm,
And that to me excites me. And I'll say this, right? To be able to have investors who saw the dream and to come alongside with me and to say, you know what, I see where you're going. I want to come alongside. I want to be there with you. Let's make money together. Let's grow wealth. It has been nothing but humbling, and
mm.
just like truly gratifying to think that like I can be a doctor and this and
Yes.
this and this. Like it's not a period anymore. It's a comma, and
Yeah.
I can add anything to it. I think for me, if I sit back and think about it, that has been my greatest achievement. And it has allowed me to dream and realize that the world is at my fingertips. And I'll tell you a story because I think this
Mm,
is important. I got a call from a female physician, and she told me, and I didn't know what this call was about, right? It was just like, you can you can book a call on my calendar. And she booked a call, and she said, I'll never forget this. And I remember this every single time when I have lows, because sometimes entrepreneurship can be very lonely. But I remember this. And she sat, and she, on a Zoom call, virtual call, she said, there's a lot of us who were not happy with what we're doing, but we were too afraid, and we had felt that we had worked so hard and we were stuck. And so she said, thank you for being the person that we can look up to and see that our dreams are possible. And then she said this, she said, my two girls are teenagers. And she said, I want them to see you and to be able to emulate what you're doing and to be able to think that they can do hard things and they can achieve that. And so as much as I'm excited for the growth, I'm excited to see others who think that like the world is also at their fingertips, that they can do that thing. They can sit at the helm and say like, this is mine. I'm doing this for this and for that. And whatever it is, your vision and your mission and your value is, that you know that it's attainable. And so I think, like I said, when I sit down and think about it, I don't think there's one big, like big career accomplishment, but it's to realize that I could do anything and that someone else can look at me and think they can do anything as well. I think that to me, that's probably my greatest win.
Wow. And it really does answer the question I was going to ask you next, which is if you could give advice to somebody who is scared to dip their toes in a different realm or something that they have a passion for, or break out of the comfort of their stable work situation, how would you advise them? And I think that this really does kind of address that, is when you have a vision and a dream, the biggest thing that you can do for yourself, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to go after it. Some people may have visions and dreams beyond being physicians. Maybe, they have a dream to pursue some other endeavor, but they might just be thinking, oh, I'm a doctor, I did that. Like that should be enough. Like I'm done. Don't limit yourself. You can be a physician and other things and whatever else you feel might bring more passion and more fulfillment to your life. So thank you so much for sharing that.
And I want to add one thing. I want to add one thing to that, right? And you hit it. You like hit the nail on the head, which is you have a vision, follow it. I would say this, right? The biggest moments of growth happen at the times that you are the most uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And so what you might be doing right now, it's easy and it's comfortable because you've done it for so long and you know it. But if you really truly have something, this burning desire, this purpose, this passion that you want to see come to life, it will not be easy. But the journey will be worth it if you keep going. And you don't have to take away the idea of comparison, because it truly is the thief of joy, right? Just focus on your own path. Do the thing that you have to do. Take the small steps. Consistency will get you where you need to go because you're showing up every single day. So that's just what I want to add. It's in the uncomfortableness. It's in that,
absolutely.
it's in that place that you get that gold, that like diamond is refined, that gold is created. It's in that place. And so don't be afraid to go there. Don't be afraid of failing. If you fail once, just fail quickly and then keep going. So that's just my thing. As you're thinking about it, if you're listening and you're just like, man, I really want to do this life. And we know it because, like the people listening to this are healthcare professionals, right? Or some of them or most of them. You understand the fragility of life. If anything, COVID-19 taught us that like life is like that in an instant. And like being in the ER, I saw it so much. And so we have this one life to live. Why don't you go at it with everything that you've got, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm at a master class at the same time that I'm learning about real estate investing and passive investing. So
Yes.
passive investing briefly is somebody else is managing and you're just providing the funds for them to do that.
And you're making money without taking any of your time.
I'm going to shout you out a little bit here because you posted something on your LinkedIn that you hired. Can you tell us that dollar amount real quick? Say it.
So I just closed. And it's not just me, because when you want to go far, you go with people. And so we just closed a $49.1 million deal in
Mm,
Atlanta, Georgia.
absolutely.
Um,
Listen.
and that in another life, I never thought that I would ever say that out loud.
Mm,
And that just shows what's possible when you
yeah,
dream and when you take action.
yeah,
And to think that like
yeah,
investors saw that and said, I want to come on board with you. And like we
yeah.
had people saying yes, and we had people just like investing. I was at the property 2 days ago, and we brought investors to the property and we just talked about it. And we talked about the hard work. We talked about the lows. We talked about when we thought we were going to walk away, because how dare us raise, a total of 22 million. Like, how dare us do that or think that
Mm,
that's possible and really bring that to life. But you saw that, like, when you work together with the right people, right? The right partners, the right team, the right investors, it comes together. And so we saw grit, we saw resilience, we saw a no nonsense, like take no
mm,
attitude,
yes.
and all of that came together. And we
Yeah.
are thrilled, beyond thrilled. We are grateful for the people who are coming with us on this journey. And this is not the end of it, right? If this is something that you're like, I want to be a part of, like we have, like even in this deal, right? We created a little bit of extra space because there were people who thought we could not do it. And so they were like watching on the sidelines to figure out like, how are we going to do this? And so now we have people that are like, wait, I want in.
I
And
want
so
in. I want
like,
in.
so it's really cool to be like,
Oh,
yes, you can still come in. You can come in on this one. You can come in on the next one,
yeah.
but to have that opportunity. And I have learned so much, right? Like
Mhm,
I never thought that I would be able to say that. And it's the power of community. It's the power of coming
mhm,
together. It's the power
mhm,
of linking arms to
mhm.
make that come to life. So
Yeah,
yes, $49.1 million, closed,
girl.
sealed, signed, delivered, all the things.
Less talk and more action. That's what this trick is all about. And I love it. I love it so much. Thank you for sharing all of that. I have gained so much perspective and so much wisdom, and I'm sure my listeners would too. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is it is in the place of discomfort
Yes.
that growth happens.
Yes.
It's in the place of discomfort. So don't shrink away when it's
Nope.
uncomfortable. That is the exact place that you need to be order for that dream to be actualized. All right. Thank
Yes.
you so much for sharing your journey. With our last 5 minutes, we're quickly going to transition and talk about our media portrayals of nurses. So, do
Yes.
you watch any shows or have you in the past? Because I know you're too busy to even watch anything. um, but if you watched or had watched in the past any medical shows, dramas, Nigerian movies, and the like, share with me what are your thoughts about how nurses are portrayed in the media.
Okay, so I'll say this, and I will first of all say that I do love what you're doing, and even like I told you the first day I met you, and I heard about Nurse on Purpose, I thought how amazing that title is, because I do think sometimes that nurses are portrayed inaccurately, and I think maybe they're a little bit, like overly dramatized, or maybe sometimes they lack substance
Mhm.
or depth, right? Um, but I can say, working in the ER and, think, Grey's Anatomy or ER or whatever,
Yeah.
but like I can say for me that I heavily rely on nurses, and we truly are a team. I cannot, this is not, and I'm not saying this just because we're on air. I will say this. I cannot do what I do without nurses. It is that simple.
Mhm.
And so I think that in media, maybe we could portray our nurses to have a little bit more critical thinking,
Mhm.
maybe some more leadership, right?
Mhm.
Because like, and then at the right time, a little bit of autonomy. So it's,
Mhm.
but we're at the same time that we're still a team, and just showing that like we can
Yeah.
collaborate with doctors. Like it's not just us. we really are a team. So that's, to me, what I think it could look like.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we are going to dive into our game. Dr. Nkem, I have a jar here. I hope you're ready for this. And I know you're going to crush it, so not worried about you. Have a jar here. I'm going to shake it around, pull out a category, and you have to come up with a plot line for a show, a TV, a series, or movie,
Okay.
whatever, that features a nurse character. And you can actually add the physician's perspectives in there, because
Okay.
we are honoring doctors on this day, right? So
Yes.
let's go for it. Shake, shake, shake. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Are you ready? Your
Yes.
category is thriller.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
if I was a film producer and it was featuring a nurse and doctor, and you gave me thriller, so something a little scary. So I would say maybe there was a seasoned nurse and she has a great memory, right? Maybe a photographic memory. And she wakes up, let me think through this. So she wakes up in the ER and she is covered in blood. But she doesn't know what happened. And testing starts happening and they find out that maybe the blood is hers, but maybe it's someone else's. And so she's trying to figure out what happened and she can't remember anything. Nobody knows what's going on, right? We start figuring out that like maybe security footage has been deleted. And so she's trying to figure out like what happened between last night and showing up in the ER in the morning, covered in blood. She's trying to piece together those missing hours. And then maybe she realizes that she's at the center of like some weird conspiracy. And so she's trying to figure out who she should trust. And she starts to rely on maybe some of her team of nurses and doctors to try to help and figure out what's going on. But slowly and surely, maybe they start discovering that they're in some weird conspiracy where, this is hard. Let me think, what could be the conspiracy? Maybe patients are disappearing. All of this is happening in the hospital, but she can't remember any of it. So it's like the team is trying to solve it together. Yeah. And they soon start realize that like maybe some like patient records are being altered. So what they thought they saw or what they dealt with isn't what they're seeing on the charts. And then they maybe figure out that like the hospital is this testing ground for something really crazy.
Ooh, this is scary.
And then they don't know. So they are trying to figure it out together with the help. So she, they're trying to frame her and the team is trying to come together and figure out what really happened because they know that she is innocent, but it looks like she's guilty. And so the bigger plot is them trying to vindicate her, but also discovering what's going on in the hospital. And this is like a maze of who knows what. That's the most I can get. I can't figure out how it ends.
It sounds like you have been working on this plot for a minute.
I have an interesting memory or imagination.
Thank you.
I think that in life, when you dream big, you also have to dream fun things and let your mind go. So I don't know how it ends. I haven't thought that far.
Don't worry. Well, we can flesh it out in the future. So we'll try to pitch this. Maybe we can go into filmmaking as our next side hustle.
Listen. We can make it work. Hollywood, here we come.
That's awesome. All right, Dr. Nkem, where can people find you to connect with you and support your work?
You can connect with me. You can find me anywhere. So think if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm very active. I'm active on all the social media platforms. You can connect with me on, you name it, I'm there. Yeah, so just look for me. But then my email address is nkem@phcinvest.com. And then our website is www.phcinvest.com. So look for me, reach out. I'm very active. If you have questions, right? If you're just thinking, man, I don't know where to start, I don't even know how to dip my toes into this thing, then come to our next webinar, come ask questions, just come learn. And I think that that's the best thing that you can do, is just to learn, but then don't get stuck in that, right? At some point you have to take action. So that's what I would say. If you're just, because I remember when I first started, I was so scared, and I thought, how, like, this is all the money I've worked for, like, how do I just put it into something? But get to learn, get to trust the operators, get to learn, get to understand what they're doing, get a feel for it, understand it, and then at the right time make the right decision.
That was wonderful. And we're going to have all of Dr. Nkem's information in the show notes. So thank you so much. This was a special episode honoring our physicians today, and I think that you did it justice. Thank you for being here, part of the podcast today, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.